How to delegate like a super entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, effective delegation is crucial because whether it's to in-house team members, freelancers, or outsourcers, there's just flat out too much to do in any given day. So to grow and scale and have time to be able to focus on the high-level strategic tasks, delegation is an absolutely essential skill. And it is a skill. So it's easy to think of delegation, just means, well, I'll just dump whatever I need done on other people. But the fact of the matter is, often that just wastes time. It gets less done, and it ultimately makes everybody unhappy at the same time. So we need a process and we need experience in order to be able to master this, the same way that we do with any other skill. So, first off, I think it's really important to talk about what to delegate because in the grand scheme of things, it isn't just about how we do it or anything else. It's also what we delegate because that's equally important if we're getting the right things off of our plate and maintaining the correct things for us to be working on. So, in terms of what we're going to delegate, we know that we're overworked. We already know that we have too much to do. But the question becomes, how do we decide what it is that we're going to delegate? Because we could think about, again, just give away as much stuff as we possibly can and hope for the best. And obviously, the more we can give away, the better. But actually, there are things that we don't really want to delegate, and there are things that we really need to delegate. And so, the best place to start is with anything that falls into one of five categories. So if we have anything that falls into one or more of these five categories, these are prime examples of things that we want to be able to delegate. So the first thing is obviously going to be time consuming tasks. Anything that takes up a significant amount of our time, anything that takes up a significant amount of our energy, all of those kinds of things are going to be really difficult for us to be able to do if we're trying to work on high level things to be able to scale our business. So anything that takes a significant portion of our time but also may not require our specific expertise. So, yeah, we might be the best at doing it. We might have the best information, the most experience, the most knowledge about it right now. But if it isn't something inherent to us and our abilities, it's just the fact that we've been here longer or the whole time. So we've always done it our way and we've always done it. It's still a really valuable thing to be able to delegate because the fact is we've got to be able to get rid of things that take lots of our time so we can free up the majority of our time for working on the high level things that are going to make a big, big difference in our business. And that's ultimately going to be one of the most important things we can do. A second category that's really good for any kind of delegation is anything that's recurring in nature. So if we have any kind of recurring tasks, anything that gets repeated over and over, and this doesn't have to be daily. Some stuff like, check my email inbox or respond to this or do that might be daily. But there may even be recurring tasks that are weekly or a couple times a week or even monthly. And obviously, something that's monthly is going to be a lower priority to delegate than something that's daily, but they're all still useful. And we're leveraging our time exponentially when we start delegating recurring tasks because we would have to do it over and over and over again. So if it saves 30 minutes a day, but it's every single day, that's a massive amount of time over the course of a week, a month, and a year. And so any recurring tasks, if there's anything that's routine, if there's anything that's repetitive, something that happens all the time and isn't something specific to us. So for example, if we have client calls and we normally get on the client calls to close the client in order to make the sale, that might not be something we could delegate, at least not right away, even though it's a recurring task. But checking email, posting on social media, responding to customer inquiries, any of these kinds of things we might be doing every single day, those 100% can and should be delegated because those are things that other people can do. And once they do, it frees us up a lot. Third category is the teachable tasks. So we have to consider with every single thing that we want to delegate, what is the learning curve associated here? How long is it going to take to figure out how to do this or show somebody else how to do it? If it's something that's going to save you 30 minutes a day, but it's going to, or 30 minutes one time, but it's going to take 3 hours to teach somebody how to do it. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to delegate that because we could do it in 30 minutes. And if it doesn't recur, there's no point. If it takes us a couple hours to teach it, but it's going to be 30 minutes or an hour every day that it saves, well, that's different. That's worth it. But teachable tasks are going to be anything where it's very easy to show somebody else how to do it. It doesn't require an incredible level of unique skill, knowledge, or experience or anything like that. And so any task that can easily be taught to others without requiring a lot of training is really valuable. If we can create a simple process for it and we can show somebody, a couple of times how to do it, and then they'd be able to pick it up and run with it from there, that's a great task to be able to delegate. Another category is low impact tasks. So we all know these, and some of them are really fun. So they're things that we might even want to do. But the fact is, in every business, we need to identify the tasks that while they're necessary, they don't really contribute to the core business objectives or the strategic goals. So it's something that's either fun to do or it's something that is part of the operation, but it doesn't really contribute. So maybe it would hurt if we didn't have it, but it isn't growing anything. It's maintaining things. So any of those kinds of tasks are going to all be things that we want to be able to delegate because we need to focus our time as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, on the highest impact things in the business. The only way the business grows is not by focusing on any low leverage stuff and trying to make that better and better and optimizing that. That will all help. But it's when the owners, it's when the people with the ability to move the needle are aligned with the tasks that they need to move the needle. So when we are closing sales as opposed to responding to emails, and we're one of the few people in the business that can do it, that's high leverage. When we're setting up a strategy for next quarter's marketing campaign, that's high leverage because even though it isn't immediately impactful, it's something we've got to do so we have a marketing campaign for next quarter. So all of those kinds of things that allow us to focus on the things that either we are uniquely qualified for or that we know have the biggest impact on the growth of the business are hugely important that we're focusing on that. And the fifth category for outsourcing is or delegation is going to be tasks that are aligned with team members' skills and interests or ones that will develop their skill and interest in a particular area. So if we have somebody on the team or we've hired somebody as an outsourcer freelancer whatever else and their expertise is graphic design and we're futzing around with a logo, that's going to be a lot smarter to give to them because it's aligned with what they do. Now we may have very specific ideas about what we want in a logo, but we can provide that feedback, we can provide that to them, and they can create a version, we can give them feedback, and then they can fix it, make whatever changes we want. But it isn't worth our time to be focusing on that if we have somebody that A, would enjoy it, and B, be good at it, right? Because ultimately, we want everybody to be satisfied in our business as well. We don't want to be offloading things to people that just keep them busy, but will drive them, to want to leave because the job is so terrible or the tasks they're given are terrible. When you align it with what people like to do or what they're very good at, not only do we get better results, but we increase everybody's happiness and excitement and engagement in the company as well because everybody's happy with what they're doing. So anything that's aligned with somebody else's wheelhouse. And the second part of that is if it's a skill we want them to develop. So maybe, let's just say, right, it's social media posting or whatever it is. And maybe the person doesn't have a lot of skill in it, but it's something that we know we eventually want to hire a social media manager for our company. So what we want to do is sort of let them cut their teeth on this, figure out how to do it, and see, is this something that they could eventually maybe grasp, master, and work their own way up into the role instead of us needing to go out and find somebody. Then we're promoting from within. We're incentivizing people for the work they're doing. Everybody's happy about what they're doing. They enjoy the work that they're doing. It's fulfilling and it's all getting done. So those are the easy synergies. Those are the easiest ways to look for and all those leverage points in terms of where we can match up our team members' skills and experience and their strengths into, other areas where they're going to be able to do that. So now that we know what we're going to delegate and we have a good idea about how to determine what things we've got that we want to delegate, how do we actually do it? Right? How do we actually go from, okay, I've got this idea and I've now identified 4 or 5 tasks or things that I want to be able to delegate. How am I now going to be able to actually give these away to somebody in a way that I know it's going to be able to get done? And this, for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if we are not either used to being in a managerial role because we've never had one in our, business or corporate or professional life, or because it's the first person we've hired into our business, whether they're an outsourcer, whether they are a, team member, an employee, whatever, there can be a little bit of anxiety about the idea of outsourcing. There could be a little bit of fear, and there's also a hesitancy to give up control because we're used to doing everything. We're good at it. We know, and we might be the best at everything, but it doesn't matter because we can't do more than what we can do. So we need to offload things where best doesn't necessarily matter, where 70%, 80% of what we are capable of is enough in those particular roles. So basically, when we start to outsource in terms of how to actually do it, it's best if we use a process, right? So instead of out tasking, where we're saying to somebody, hey, do this, do that, do this, and it's all sort of off the cuff with impromptu instructions. Instead, particularly for those recurring things or things we know that are going to come up again and again, if we use a process that we create for it, it makes it a lot easier to be able to adjust that, to adapt it, and to optimize it over time. And so that way we become better and better at delegating because we have processes in place that are really going to work. So here are the keys to how to actually delegate. The first thing is we need to start with the right people and with the expectation in advance to be able to trust and empower them. So let's unpack that for a minute. Number one, start with the right people. If I need graphic design work and I hire a general admin, are they capable of doing some graphic design? Sure, they might be. Are they likely to be able to create professional designs if I have a really discerning eye and I'm really particular about my brand? Probably not. I know we want to sort of jam all the tasks we've got into as small of a footprint as possible. But if we have a high expectation of quality, we need to get somebody who has that as a skill. So they're going to be able to provide us with what we're actually looking for. We don't want to give people things that are outside their strength and then still maintain really high expectations. So starting with the right people is number one. If I'm going to go out and I'm going to hire a freelancer or an outsourcer, the first thing I'm going to do is identify what are those tasks I need done. Conversely, if I need somebody to manage my calendar, manage my inbox, respond to emails, do all these administrative things, do my scheduling, I'm not going to go out and hire a graphic designer because I also kind of need a logo and then hope they can do all the general admin stuff. I'm going to go get an executive admin because that's what they specialize in. And so we may need multiple part-time people or whatever the case may be, but I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have people that are capable of doing the work we need them to do. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves and them up for failure. And with the expectation to trust and empower them. This comes back to the idea of being able to relinquish control, being able to say, you know what? It may not be to the exact standard I would do. Maybe I could do a little bit better. Maybe I can't. Maybe they're better than I am. But I'm so nervous about giving up control because I'm so used to doing it myself. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it the right way. And so I need to have the expectation up front that I'm going to be able to trust and empower them. And I can even share that with them. Look, I'm trusting you. I'm empowering you to do this. It's very important to the business. I really need to make sure that you do a good job, but I trust that you're going to be able to do it. That goes a long way. It goes a long way in setting an expectation for them as well, because they're not going to want to let you down. If you've hired them, you put them in this role and they feel like it's an important thing about your business, the last thing they're going to want to do is let you down. So they're going to work their tail off to make sure they do a good job. If, on the other hand, we're standing over there micromanaging every bit that they do, if they're any good, that we're going to drive them right out of the business, because people that are good at what they do don't like to be micromanaged. They know that they're capable of what they can do. They want to be given what they need to do and have the freedom to go do it. So, the foundation of effective delegation is going to be hiring skilled people and then trusting them to get the job done. So, it's two sides of the same coin, but it's really important. So, to that end, if we are on our first outsourcer or person we're delegating, we want that to be somebody a little bit, more general to handle whatever our highest priority, most important things are. If we're starting to add to the team, what we want to do is look if we're building a balanced team with complementary skills. We don't often need 3 or 4 people with the same skill set. And oftentimes they're just going to step on each other's toes and want the other jobs that the other people are doing. So we want people with complementary skills so they can work together and everybody is better off for it. And then we want to give them the autonomy to make decisions and take ownership of their work. We also offload the mental overhead if we aren't trying to micromanage everything. If we can give somebody control over something and say, listen, these are the outputs that I want. This is the expectation, scheduling, time frame, whatever. And I trust you to get it done. Let me know if there are any problems. We can check in from time to time. But we don't need to also be obsessing about it and thinking about it all the time, because somebody else is handling it and they're going to come to us if there's an issue. So it not only improves their confidence and their productivity, but it also builds a stronger and a more capable team. The second piece of how to outsource is to set clear expectations. I I made this mistake early on in my outsourcing and delegating journey. I didn't have a lot of experience with it. And so what I basically did is I had tasks, I had things I needed to be done. So I gave them out and I just said, okay, do this stuff. And my thought was, okay, well, if these take me whatever, say it takes 3 days. My expectation is initially they're brand new. They don't know the business. It's going to take a little bit. Maybe it'll take them a week. And what ended up happening is 3 days went by. They didn't even complete the first thing yet because I didn't set any expectations. I didn't set expectations for quality. I didn't set expectations for time or deadlines. I didn't set expectations for process or communication. So they were literally just out there on their own. And so while should they have come to me proactively if they had questions? Sure. At the same time, it's my failure because I'm the boss. I'm the one, the buck stops with me. So I've got to make sure I'm getting done what I need to get done. And that was my mistake. I definitely should have set clear expectations. So that's what we need to do. We have to set very clear expectations when we're delegating tasks and be as specific as possible about what they are. So if we want graphic design, we want to show examples of the quality and style of graphic design we want. If we want, written copywriting or whatever, email marketing, we want to show examples of what excellence looks like so they can get a sense of what we're expecting. And we want to provide clear guidelines, objectives, and deadlines. So this is the time, this is when I expect. If you think you will meet the deadline, no need to update me every single, day or whatever, just let me know. If you don't think you're going to meet it, don't wait until the deadline to tell me that. I need you to let me know that in advance. Now, I still recommend initially we communicate a lot with somebody new if we've delegated, but the point is we can get to a place where we can delegate and let it go and know that they'll come to us once we've developed them enough. But we want to communicate exactly how we expect the task to be completed and when it should be done. And whatever elements of it we don't care about, let them decide on their own. So we give them the deliverables, we give them the things that matter, and the rest of it, we don't need to micromanage the process. It takes work off our plate, it makes their job a lot easier, and it makes them feel like they have ownership of it and control instead of being micromanaged. So that clarity will help prevent misunderstandings and it'll ensure that the work meets the standards that we've set. The third piece or the third element of outsourcing or delegating is to start small and build trust. This is a lesson I learned the hard way. I gave away a big project to somebody that I had hired as a freelancer. And I let a couple of weeks go by. I was very busy. And then when I checked in, very little was getting done. And what was getting done was not up to the standard I even wanted. And what I realized was I was excited to offload this whole project, but I hadn't vetted them well enough. I looked at their feedback and all that kind of stuff, but not within my own business. when we're doing something in our own business with somebody new, whether they're an employee, whether they are an outsourcer, freelancer, whatever else, start small. If we need them to create a 30-day, sequence of social media posts, don't give them 30 days of social media posts. Tell them to make 3. I need you to make 3 social media posts so I can get a sense of what your style is like, so I can get a sense of how you work, and then we'll take it from there. Once you get those 3 back, you provide feedback. If it's good, great. Go make the other 27. If it's not, provide the feedback you need to have them redo those 3 or make the edits. When you're satisfied, then you give them the rest. If we do it that way, we never get burned by something that we're not expecting and that things don't get done on time or to the standard that we were hoping for. So begin by delegating the smaller tasks, monitor how they're completed. You can see how somebody's communication skills work, what their workflow is like, what their work intensity is like. All of these things are going to become illuminated for you as soon as you start doing this. And over time, as you build confidence in your team's abilities, you can delegate more significant responsibilities and you can give them more autonomy and freedom to go do it. That gradual approach helps you develop trust, become more comfortable with letting go of control, and also ensuring you're getting what you want without any 11th hour surprises. Another element of effective delegating is focus on your strengths. So, all the things that you are very good at that are high leverage, you keep. Identify all the tasks that are in what we call our drudgery zone, stuff that we can't stand, right? It depletes our creative energy. It doesn't align with our core strengths. We all have those tasks in our business where we sort of grumble. We know it's got to be done. We're willing to do it, but we don't like to do it. And at the end of doing it, we actually feel sapped of our energy. We don't feel enthusiastic or energized. We're not excited about the next thing that we've got to do, and that is problematic. So we want to be able to focus on the stuff we do really well, and we want to delegate all the other drudgery tasks. And by the way, drudgery is not a it's not meant to be derogatory, because what is drudgery to somebody is brilliant to somebody else. So it doesn't mean that they're beneath us or that it's negative. It's not a slight. It just means for our own work style, it doesn't resonate with us. Some people love putting together spreadsheets and doing all the detail work. Other people can't stand it. They want to think conceptually. Neither one are wrong. Both are very necessary. So the point is, we want to put everybody in a position where they're working on the things that they do best. And for us, that's vitally important. So delegate the tasks to team members or external experts who specialize in the areas we don't. That allows us to focus on activities where we can add the most value to our business. The next element of effective delegation is providing the resources and support. It's one thing to give people tasks and give them things to do. It's another thing to make sure they've got the tools they need and the support and resources they need to be successful. If we work on 3 internal systems and we don't give them access to those, and they're supposed to be making a spreadsheet of all of our customer data, how are they going to be able to do it? We didn't give them access. If they have questions that only we can answer, and it's important that they get those answers, despite the fact that we're busy and have things to do, it's vitally important, especially in the beginning of that journey, that we're there to support them and answer those questions. It makes our job harder in the beginning because we have to give even more of time we don't have. But in the long run, it pays off because that person becomes fully functional and now doesn't need our help at all. So we want to ensure that our team has all the necessary resources, information, and training to complete all their delegated tasks successfully. We have to be available to answer questions. We have to be available to provide guidance and feedback. And we don't want to micromanage, but we need to be available. And the other element of successful delegation is to follow up and give feedback. This is vitally important, especially in the beginning of someone's journey. We want a check-in system where we track progress on delegated tasks without constant oversight. Let's do a huddle for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. We can go over what you've done. I'll give you feedback. You can let me know if you have any roadblocks or things bothering you. I'll let you know how I feel about what you've done. We'll keep course correcting until we get there, and we could step back the amount of time we spend together. But initially, it might be 15, 30 minutes, an hour a day. And then it will scale back and scale back and scale back. But we need to be giving that feedback, especially in the beginning. The regular feedback will help our team improve and align their performance with what our business goals and expectations are. So that balance of autonomy and accountability fosters a culture of trust and continuous improvement. Everybody knows and everybody feels good about it. So if we master the art of delegation, we can free up our own time for strategic thinking. We can also help prevent burnout. And we can create a scalable business model that doesn't rely solely on our personal efforts, which, by the way, makes our business worth a lot more to outside investors or if we ever want to sell it off. So the takeaway here is that delegation is an essential part of every entrepreneur's journey. And it's one of the fundamental skills required to build and scale businesses successfully. It's that simple. It often sounds easier than it is because while it is really simple, the concept of delegation is fairly self evident. That doesn't make it easy. So remember that effective delegation is a skill that improves with practice. So start implementing these strategies and always look to improve. So the more we do it, the better we get. And when we have a highly evolved ability to delegate, we have one of the key building blocks to success in scaling any business.